Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Excellence by Vendôme times Glion, the world's premier luxury panel series, even if I do say so myself. If you weren't with us here earlier, my name is Martin Green, and I'm your host and moderator for each of the day's sessions. And for our second panel discussion, we're going to talk about love. Now, have no fear, we're not about to all get gushy on you. This is the love that drives the relationship between a luxury brand and its customers. So it's love with a hard commercial edge. But this love has to go both ways. A brand has to earn it by showing it, especially when the customer walks into a boutique or a store or has an online engagement with the brand. So how does a brand love and be loved? Well, joining me to give their expert insights on this topic are three people who know what it takes to nurture the love of their clients. Alexis de la Palme is a Glion alumnus who today chairs the management board of Edmond de Rothschild Heritage, which brings together the Rothschild family's non-banking activities, including hotels, wineries, and natural products. He also happens to be a reserve officer in the French gendarmerie, so I better behave today. And he holds the rank of colonel, having also been awarded this country's foremost state honor, the Légion d'honneur. Now, François-Henri Benamia actually gave us the idea for this panel when he talked about how to deploy love at our panel last year. At that time, he was the CEO of the luxury watch brand Audemars Piguet, a role he'd held since 2012. As anyone who follows the luxury business will know, François-Henri has now stepped down from AP after a truly transformational stint there. And we're absolutely thrilled that he's taken time out from his post-AP sabbatical to be with us today. Now, last but by no means least, I'm also joined by Christophe, who is the Chief Commercial Officer of Montblanc. He was previously CFO and then President Asia Pacific for Burberry, based in Hong Kong, and his luxury industry experience has also included 13 years with LVMH across various product areas, including watches, jewelry, perfume, and cosmetics. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to François-Henri Benamia, Alexis de la Palme, and Christophe Wygas. Thank you, gents, very much for joining us this morning. Now, Alexis, I will start with you, actually, as you're immediately to my left. I talked about this love and be loved and this bond, this strong emotional bond between a brand and its consumer and the importance of it potentially. Do you agree that this is an important or an essential to success with a luxury brand? Go ahead.
Sure. Okay. Yes, in fact, I'm less brand oriented than my friend on the left, but this is love. And the thing is, of course, at Edmond Rothschild Heritage, the power of emotion is very important. Our business is linked on wines, on hotels, on restaurants, but also tree nursery. And of course, you can think that there is no link, in fact, between all these activities. But in fact, these three activities, because of the power of emotion we create, mainly because we have the chance to have a very important historical and family background, the Rothschild history, this creates a lot of emotion between our brands. So it's absolutely key, of course, globally and generally, to work also with emotions. If you don't work with emotions, it will probably not work. We are not machines, we are humans.
François-Henri, thinking back to your time with AP, do you agree with this premise about the power of the emotional bond to a brand and its importance?
First of all, I would love to challenge a little bit the way you talked about it at first, because you spoke about the outside of a brand, meaning the client. Mm-hmm. You spoke about retail, so you're already outside of your own world. Love starts from within. You have to start with your own people. You have to develop a culture that obviously will allow them to understand what a brand stands for and hopefully be able to then bring that message, bring those emotions, bring the love to the outside. You cannot actually foster love outside if you don't have it inside. So no matter what you do to start with, you have to work from within.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then eventually you can start to do it on the outside.
Yeah.
And we say in God we trust. I would say in love we trust, because immediately with the word love, there is a word trust. And today in the world, I heard someone talking about luxury recently saying, we do not need luxury at all. So the only thing that's going to bring us to the luxury world is emotions and trust in how we want to live those emotions. So these two things are actually you can actually take them away from each other.
Mm-hmm. And Christophe, as I mentioned in my intro, you've been intimately involved with a series of much loved and cherished luxury brands. What's your take on that, on the importance of it?
I think one important thing is, as François-Henri said, love, and maybe you won't hear me telling me many times, it's a three-party at least play. So yeah, I know that's. Don't take me there. Let me go drill into much more detail. You need to have your, employees. You need to love your employees. Employees need to love the product. Employees need to love the clients. Clients need to love the product, and they need to love employees. So it's probably more than, and everything needs to go and to cross each other. If one of these conditions is not met, you may have like temporary success, but it won't be a permanent one, and it would be. And again, I'm going to illustrate it. It might be like a short relationship, but it won't be a long-lasting one. And I would probably make the distinction straight away in luxury. And when we talk about love, we need to make a distinction. And we had before joining an interesting conversation on on long-lasting relationship versus short ones. Luxury, it's about building long-lasting relationship. So if I had to illustrate it, you would compare it in your love life. Do you have like a one-night relationship? Or do you have something which is lasting long? Are you getting engaged and are you getting married with the brand and with the clients? So I would say luxury, it's about having a long-lasting relationship.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you can't have short ones, but you can't build your business on it.
Yeah, it's the long ones that are the vital to the business. So François-Henri, I'll come back to you, and we talking about this building, this love, this nurturing the love for the brand. What's the best and most effective way for a brand to do that? And is it, for example, is it people or products or both that have the key parts to play in building that relationship that Christophe talked about?
First of all,
don't forget your mic.
Sorry, it has to always start with people. And you cannot force love. You cannot push love. It has to be generated automatically. So the way you do this, and that was the biggest eye-opener during COVID, it's when I ask all the employees of Audemars Piguet to ask their kids, not even them, the kids, to disclose what would be the after COVID. And every single one of them, whether they were 3 years old or 25-year-old, were talking about love. Not I've got 20 million friends on Facebook. No. It's much more, when will I be able to hug my grandmother or my boyfriend or my girlfriend? When will I be able to see my friend, which is like 2 kilometers away from here? True, actual love. And then they came after us, the older generation, about environment, love for the planet. And in a sense that say, okay, so now we're going to ask everyone and say, what should change when we worked on this at AP? And they came with the idea of people to people, to start, like I said before, first of all from within and then to go outside. It was the fastest way to bring people around a concept together. And then things flow. If you want to push it or to cut corners, it never works. I like what you say. You built it through long term. You cannot buy into love in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Alexis, what's your take on that?
Yeah, my approach is, I think, a little bit different, because I see, in fact, in your question, the importance of empathy. And for me, the empathy is part of earning customer love, but not only customer love, employee love also. What I mean by that, when you run a business and when you are the chairman of a business, the people, of course, looked at you, and of course, your attitude must be perfect, and because you know you are looked at, but it must be also natural. So you need to have that empathy, okay, that basically leaked into the teams, so that they will, from that experience or that feeling they have, this for me, because I saw it, this will go back to the customer. The empathy is something that not everybody has, because not everybody has this capacity or this sensibility to drive that feeling. But if you manage to have that, I can guarantee you that the teams will work super well, and their work will work super well, of course, as I said, for the clients. I'm very much convinced in that. And the second point that I think is very important in earning customer love is, of course, to anticipate. It's maybe more in the hotel industry, but maybe not only. I'm not a specialist of the watch industry, but anticipate the needs, of course, is clearly something that the customer will be absolutely seduced about. So, and they will be very, how can I say it, recognized. And when you anticipate, they feel, of course, not here, but they feel, here. And this is also something that if you manage or to have managers in your teams that have this capacity to anticipate, you will win the war.
Yeah. And Christophe, there are two sides to every coin, and there are two sides to love as well. And I hope that you can speak not from personal experience, but sort of what are your thoughts on the quickest or the easiest ways for a brand to destroy, to ruin that love, to break that love?
Wow, very few. How long do you have?
You've got a couple of minutes.
One of them is, number one, to take the clients as an idiot. And basically to think that by meeting criteria which are luxury and doing like a melting pot of everything which has been successful in the past, you will be successful and the client will buy into it. So you need to be authentic and you need to stick to who you are and not pretend to be somebody you're not, just because someone else tried something, was successful, and you think client will buy into it as well. So authenticity is key in retaining or not losing clients. Product quality, it's one of them. So again, but that goes back to the long term. Selling something, we all sell high price point, high value products, experience. So the quality must be absolutely perfect. And if something goes wrong, after sales needs to be perfect. Something can go wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. The way you will handle it is equally important to the quality. So one easy way to basically lose clients is also to deny you did something wrong and to try to escape from your responsibilities, amongst other things.
Okay, François-Henri, what's your take on that? Do you broadly agree with Christophe on those?
But I'm going to go back to trust. You break that circle of trust in 2 seconds, like in a relationship, where basically you were expecting to do X, Y, Z, and you do the exact opposite. The second you break the trust, then love could be gone in 2 seconds. And it could be a matter from the product side, from the after-sale service, from anything you've actually put a voice on saying, this is who we are, this is what we're going to do. And if at some point you're caught in your own BS, then good luck to rebuild. Especially in today's world where people can go from one place and one brand to the other, from one hotel to the other, any restaurant, anything you name, in 2 seconds. And we've seen this over the last, just year, because we live 21 and 22, were crazy years. Everything was going through the roof. And suddenly people woke up because brands in different categories abused the system. Okay? say, oh, you know what, now you want a table at a restaurant in Mykonos for the summer, it's a 5,000 euro minimum, even if you only drink a bottle of Evian. That's the advertising part, Evian. And I had to. So 5,000 euros, and people were actually buying to this. Guess what? Suddenly interest rate go on, war, these issues, and even people with money say, guys, it's the same table, it's the same bottle, it's the same food that we had 2 years ago. Now the price is 3 times. Are you sure? And eventually, they're going to go away from it. And that's what we are seeing now, more and more.
Yeah. Now, Alexis, that plays to your huge experience in the world of hospitality, just the last bit that Francois and we was talking about. And so if Christophe talked about this destroying love from, if you like, from a kind of from a brand, from a product perspective, what are the pitfalls, you know, on the hospitality side?
Just going back from what he just said, you're absolutely right. In fact, must not take, in fact, the clients, the consumer, call it how you want, as fools. And this is exactly what happened, COVID, post-COVID. Now it's getting a little bit better. Coming back to your question, I think as far as I am concerned, I have a little story to share with you because I think it's interesting for me. Destroying love is when you neglect a client or you don't. He expects, we deserve a certain attention. And I remember sorry, it's a long time ago, but in 1989, I was a young assistant manager in Georgia Fifth in Paris. So it's a long time ago. Huh? And there is a guy who goes into the hotel, and probably he went into the hotel because he loves probably the product. He loves this space. He loves the building, probably driven by this experience he wanted. So I saw him going in the direction of the reception, but the guy was in a jean, basket shoes, and just a T-shirt. A nice watch, I remember that.
So we're 30 years ahead of his game.
And what happened is I saw the receptionist a little bit, you know, but they didn't, this has so much upset me because I saw you saw that there was something in the guy, you know. So I went behind the reception and I said, "Je vais m'en occuper." And I said, "Mr. Blah Blah Smith, what can I do for you?" "I would like to see a suite." I said, "Okay, les suites, so much, etc." So I show him a first suite, 1,000 euro or 2,000 euro. I said, no, something a little bit, okay, no problem. So show him a suite for 5,000 euro. And then franc. And what happened, I show him the last suite that was on the street, 15,000 francs or something like this. And he said, ça c'est bien, ça c'est bien. I said, okay, but you know, it's 15,000 francs, no problem. And then the guy went downstairs, just from his jean, took his black American Express card, put it on the table, and took 5 prepaid nights, et voilà. And he was very happy, first because I was with my little nice tie and things I'm making, you know. It's very important also when you... And the guy, in fact, was happy, but we were close from a disaster. And this is what I want to say is that don't judge also the clients, you know, the book, the cover, you know, the story. Huh? So that is very important. This is even much more now because, as we all know, we know people now taking a plane, you know, EasyJet to go to Milan, you know, and they will stay in the Principe, you know, for 5 nights and pay a fortune. So this has evolved very much. What is interesting this happened 30 years ago. Voilà. So neglecting a client is at some stage a client or consumer is basically betraying him. If you betray a client, he will never come back. If you don't have, you know, return business, that's a problem in the hotel industry, you know. So voilà.
Yeah, interesting. And Christophe, yes, I'll give you a chance to jump in on that.
Just one thing. I mean, about clients and not judging people. I mean, or a book by its cover. Something we always fight on when it comes to retail is how you treat basically your local clients. And we are talking about COVID, a few minutes ago. And during COVID, I think everybody in the industry rediscovered the importance of local clients. In luxury, it's very easy to play price difference. So, you've got tourists, they travel, very excited, there is a saving, you buy in this country and then you buy in Europe, it's 20, 30, 40% off. Oh my God, I'm going to take 10 of those. But during COVID, those people were not traveling. And the experience and our capacity to go through COVID relied heavily on rediscovering the importance of local clients. Back then, I was based in Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong, I was a foreigner. So basically, for me, walking into a store, I was not, let's say, looked at as a strong potential buyer walking into a store, because usually they would go after a mainland Chinese, thinking, oh my God, those guys have pockets full of money. And then I was talking to my team, and I was saying, guys, do you realize that you're treating basically potentially people from Hong Kong, your neighbor, in a different way than just because of the potential money you're going to make by judging people? I'm treated as a foreigner, fine, fair enough. I live for 12 years there, but I can accept. But you can't have this behavior of treating local clients, because one crisis, politics, COVID 20, 21, 23, whatever you want to name it, tourists might disappear. Locals will remain. And basically, the relationship you build with locals is key. So, to your point of not judging people by the cover, equally, treating your local clients with the same respect and with the same attention, irrespectfully of how much they can generate, is as important as just trying to milk. Because sometimes, and back then I think there was a lot of milking in the industry. And creating this mindset of having genuine and authenticity again is key if you want to have a long-term business and sustainable. Otherwise, first economic crisis, first geopolitical crisis, you lose 20, 30, 70% of your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, François-Henri, both Alexis and Christophe have talked about this kind of face-to-face relationship, the front line, if you like, of the customer relationship. And it does bring us neatly onto a point I want to explore with you again, because we touched upon it a bit last year, and I was quite fascinated by it. And we've got a different audience online and in the studio, so I think it's worth revisiting about what you try to do with what you call deploying love among your people, and particularly in the boutiques, in the stores, and how you went about doing that. I think that's a good case study. Can you sort of revisit that and tell us a little bit again about that process you went to deploy love?
Yeah, I'm going to summarize this with two paths. The first one is, think about it on the way you would want to be treated at home by your partner. Okay, and the number one rule is pay attention, which is linked immediately to listen. No, there is one rule in poker, okay, to be efficient. You have to speak last. Why? Because you want to get informations given to you by your opponents. Now, it's a little bit the same thing with partners or with clients. And you have to show that you're willing to listen to their story. In too many times, the biggest issue that the luxury world or any world of business with their commercial interactions is happening is the same. We have to deploy our speech as quickly as possible. Okay, so who are you? Yeah, do you want a coffee? Imagine the person that loves shopping, that goes on Avenue Montaigne a Saturday afternoon. She'd have drunk 20 coffees, 5 liters of water, but nobody pays attention to these things anymore, because everywhere you go, you have to be nice, you have to be polite. What can I help you with? And the whole thing. No, at some point, you have to be polite, but give enough space to the person immediately to let her say, or him say, what he is interested in. And the more you push, the more you could actually push away that person. So rule number one, pay attention. Rule number two, listen and make the person talk. then eventually you got to piggyback on that and go back and be smarter because now you've heard something. I've always used the theory of what I call the dead bodies, especially in the watch world, because watches are mostly, until now, a man thing. Like if we go to a shoe store, it's got to be a much more woman thing. And the dead bodies exist in the two places. So if I talk about watches, a couple comes, that's for him. He's with his wife. Okay, the wife sits there. Nothing happens. Okay? And yes, everybody's for the guy. Oh, we want to show you this, we want to show you that. And the woman sits down. Yes, she got her coffee and her water, it's fine, but nothing. I said, use her. Make her alive. How you do that? Say, the first sentence I say is, I need your help. Don't say, I want to show you something. I need your help. Could you help me at something? What do you mean? We just launched a new product for women. I know you're not here for that, but I need your advice. And eventually, you start to let that person feel important into that session. Who's going to say, I'm not going to help you? Okay, so say, show me. The second you show, that's a new open door to a conversation. And eventually something could happen. If you don't do that, you're a dead body in the store. That's not love. Reverse the same process, okay, in a woman's shoes store. And it will be the exact same thing. I love shopping, so I'm good either way. Okay? But for many people, you have to pay attention to who is with you because showing love to one person is not enough. Sometimes they show up with kids, and it's messy. You cannot act. You have to be smart about this as well. Love is for the entire family, not for one person in the family. If not, it's not love.
Yeah. And am I right in thinking or remembering that as part of that process of improving those human interactions, you started to take people from hospitality industries rather than pure retail when you were looking for staff? Is that right?
You know why? Because we pay better.
But I was thinking more about the talent side of things, about the talents they brought to the.
No, but the number one reason is because, yes, in hospitality, that's your everyday job. You have to take care of people. Retail was not meant to be that way. So, yes, we take a lot of people from this field.
Yeah. And Alexis, that brings me on to talk about hospitality and about that love and intrinsic quality. Obviously, hospitality being a sizable part of Edmond de Rothschild heritage. Do you think that is a big selling point? That is a big part of it. And tell us a little bit more about that sort of the curated side of how you've put this collection together.
Yeah, because of course Edmond Rothschild is not heritage, is not easy because we have basically, I mean, as I said before, 3 different lives, 3 different type of jobs. When you run 7 wineries in the world, and then you run 3 hotels and 6 or 7 restaurants, and then also a tree nursery or even the nicest brie and truffle brie farm next to Paris. You can imagine. You can think me. How do you create a common line or a common vision? So, of course, when you bear a name like Edmond Rothschild, the Rothschild name, you can not have, I would say, bad wines. You cannot have a shitty hotel, and you cannot have a brie that tastes nothing. And of course, everything needs to be close to the excellence. Excellence, not only with the people, but with the product. So when I do wines with your boss in South Africa, Rupert and Rothschild, for instance, when we buy the grapes, because this is a business model there, an asset-light model, we buy the best grapes. We pay more, but we have the best grapes, so we do the best wine in South Africa, or at least in the top 3. So same for the hotel. When I built an hotel between 2015 and 2017, that cost 100 million euro, okay, the influence of Ariane de Rothschild in the construction of the hotel, putting her feeling into the hotel, thinking the hotel is being a kind of adventure, it's just you built an hotel. It's an adventure because you have art. The hotel has been built because we took some linked with an architect in the 20s, who was Jacques-Henri Lemaitre. So you find details in the hotels that was in Megève 100 years ago when the family started there. When you decide to built a new cheese farm and you decide to modernize it, it's still, we use the milk of our cows. We don't go outside. We don't buy with Lactalis. It's basically our cows are fed by our ground and by our agriculture. It's our milk doing, of course, in that case, the best possible cheese. So it's always a question of being courageous, audacious, l'audace, très important, l'audace, and the discipline. The discipline is very important. Now talking about the people, and I will be brief about that, but it's important. You have to understand that my business is full of people. Very modest people. The people who works in the wines, for instance, and I have also managers, middle management, top management, etc. I mean, there is a lot of people. So it's very people-driven. Edmond Rothschild Heritage is very people-driven. And again, if you don't take care, it's not a question of money only, it's a question of, the spirit, making also the proudness. And I will conclude with that. When I recruit people, I always ensure that they are super proud to work for the family. What we said in our language, we said pour la famille. The people, I need to feel that. And if they don't have that in them, not here, I will not hire the guy or the lady. It's very important. La fierté.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that something that guided your recruitment while you were at AP, François-Henri, in terms of that, looking for the perfect people, looking for the right people?
I'm a very instinct-driven person, so I need to feel. Now, people could lie through an interview. Okay, I love, I'm very proud, and you hire them and you find out that it's empty. Yeah, that happens, okay? But I've got a way to conduct interviews, which is very, very special. It's not torture, but I can guarantee you that everybody remembers. Because I'm going to challenge you. I don't ask basically any questions about business. I don't care about the resume. I care about the human skills I'm going to see in one person. And if I may, I would love to do something physically to someone to describe, to show how important words are towards love and what it could do physically to someone in less than 1 minute. What's your name? Wissam? Come here 1 sec. I need the mic?
Yeah, keep
Okay,
it for the audio.
Come here 1 second. You're going to face the wall. You're going to put your feet square here. No, you're going to take my place. Okay? I want to see the feet open. I want square, slightly, okay? The side of your shoulder. No, here. Okay? Square. Okay? Square like this, not open. Okay? You fix a point here, and you relax. You see it's built. Okay? Now, I'm going to push you to lose your balance this way, and you got to resist. You okay? We go? Ready? Okay. Strong. Good. Relax. Everything's going to be okay. Now, you do not look at me. You listen. Take a point here and keep your focus on that point. You just listen to me. At the end of my sentence, I'm going to try to make you lose your balance. You ready? So, Wissam. Okay. So, Wissam, I don't know you. I've just seen you in the crowd, but what I can tell you is this. I feel that you're a great human being. Basically, I would want to work with you. You're great. Everything I see about you is great. You're real, you're authentic, and I really would love to work with you. Okay, Wissam? Okay. Relax. So, Wissam, I've seen you in the crowd, and my first reaction was, I don't like you at all. There is nothing about you I like. Basically, I do believe that you're a fraud. You're nothing, but basically nothing. You're nothing but pure waste of talent. There is nothing good about you. Just to show you, you can go back, Wissam, thank you. Okay. Just to show you, that's where it starts. Love is for you first. And I've discovered this through my relationship with major athletes, okay, where sometimes you can call them arrogant because you feel, oh, they say, oh, I'm the best. No, they feed themselves with self-love on a regular basis. Because the second you start to tell yourself, and we all make that mistake, that I'm such a dope, I'm nothing, I'm a zero, you start to lose your own balance. And guess what? If you do that in meetings, in session, with your people, good luck. I was a bad boss at some point. I was that. I've learned, and there's a major change in displaying the love and making sure that the second you go hard at people, not only they lose their balance, but eventually they're going to make the other people lose their balance as well. Free of charge.
Thank you, François-Henri. Christophe, I'll get back to you now and give you a chance to speak. And in our conversation was when I was researching Montblanc, it really stood out to me when I was reading about the brand refocusing on the pen as the center of its universe. Now, as anyone knows, Montblanc, obviously it's famous for its pens, but it's involved in an awful lot of other luxury categories now. But tell us a bit of the thinking about that brand refocus. Let's get back to sort of the brand, if you like, and why the company did that, and perhaps a little bit about how that's played out.
Number one, we don't call it pens, we call it writing instruments.
I'm sorry. I'm a Philistine, don't worry.
But having said that, we don't refocus on pens.
Writing instruments.
We focus on writing culture. So and basically, so Montblanc was funded in Germany, in Hamburg. So that's a scoop for probably a lot of people in the room. Around creating one writing instrument that could be used to travel without leaking and so on and so forth. And then they developed also leather accessories to make sure you could travel, so notebooks, a pen pouch, so on and so forth. But what I was mentioning earlier, that you need to be true to who you are, basically that's what we are doing. We can't deny we have a very strong writing heritage. We are coming from writing. We developed, and our manufacturer is in Hamburg. So we do our writing instruments in Hamburg with people who are super proud about what we're doing. It's taking highly skilled technicians to do what we call limited edition. So it's really artisan work. Very similar to watchmakers, and we are always innovate on process. So trying to basically link and to make the writing culture part of our DNA and creating strong connections between, for example, writing and leather. So a lot of our, including design in leather, are a subtle detail linking our product to writing. If you take a Montblanc messenger bag, you would have basically the stitching would represent the nib of a fountain pen. If you take the pattern we use on some of our leather collections, it's a replica of the movement that people are doing at the end of the manufacturing process when we build basically the nib. 100% of the nibs are tested one by one in a soundproof room by somebody who is basically doing a certain movement with the hand to hear and to feel whether the nib will scratch on the paper. And anything which is not perfect, it's people, they do it, they've been doing it for like, not 100 years, but for many, many years, and they can detect default, and again, that's who we are. So it's really making sure when you talk to your client, you talk about the same universe, you talk about the same culture, and you're not schizophrenic or by selling writing instruments to some clients who have a passion, interest in something, and to do leather with a complete different client profile or target. That's what I was referring to. Not trying to eat at every basically table. We have a client base. We have people who are passionate about writing or culture. And those are the people we want to really build a strong connection with.
Yeah.
which is alienating. So super high fashion clients, but that's fine. I mean, that's not who we are.
Yeah, and is the skill, the artisanship that goes into those writing instruments, is that part of the way you present your brand, the way do you leverage that in terms of the way you sort of present the brand?
To some extent, not enough. I mean, those people, honestly, they're amazing. When you go, when I interviewed for Montblanc, I had goosebumps. I mean, when I visited the manufacturer and talked with the guys, they are the best ambassadors ever. So there's nobody in marketing, nobody in sales, those are the best people ever. Some of them, I mean, the guy who is running our workshop, he's been with us for 39 years. He started as an intern. Now he's leading the atelier. And you've got people, not only they've been around with us and when we talk about love, that's love. Huh? Because it's not like they feel bored. They feel passionate, like love at first sight. It looks like they started yesterday and they're still feeling the passion. And when they talk to you again, and I'm talking about them, I've got the goosebumps. And one again, you've got the kids, you've got the children, where they've seen their parents, the dad or the mom, working at the manufacturer, and they want to work at Montblanc. So they want to do, and they want to join and to be part of the adventure. And that's priceless.
Yeah.
Definitely priceless.
Yeah. And Alexis, you mentioned just now about about sourcing the best grapes, the best milk for the cheese. So it's from a product perspective, but in terms of that artisan quality, in terms of the people behind those products, tell us a little bit about the passion they feel and how, again, maybe how you look to build that into your brand offering.
The brand offering, so the craftsmanship factor. So these people is interesting globally. The one you just mentioned are. These people are working for the family now. I think for most of them, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. There is again this proudness, that makes these people work because they're proud to work for the Rothschild. Rothschild, I mean, you have to be honest, it's nearly dynastic. The name is extraordinary. It helps a lot to sell, clearly. Wines, cheese, hotels, restaurants. But then beside that, of course, we need to be at the expected level. I think that the people are proud to work for the family for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because we treat them well. We pay them not too bad. We are also trying to help them to get better, what we call, the training aspect. My company is only 450 people. I've trained last year 160, mainly on corporate, of course, corporate sustainable aspects. But they are happy and they feel that we are taking care of them. And there is a lot of aspects in the society now, we all know since a couple of years, that are new to people who are 45, 50 years old, 55 years old, sustainable, approach, they look at you and, the issues with the wokism, all these kind of things, I'm not talking about the people who are 20. I'm talking about the people who are 50, 55, 60. I'm the first concerned, You know what I did? I did a course, j'ai fait un cours, a lesson from the HR about, c'était pas le sexisme, but it was the way now, me, Alexis, 58 years old, working for 39 years now, closely, how I have to approach, and talk to the other sex. Because before, I was looking at the lady, I said, oh, magnifique cette robe. Vraiment, c'est très joli. And they said to me, Alexis, you can say, but you cannot say like this, and you have to be, I was, but I have to learn, because I understand it's part of a new not system, but a new way of thinking that needs to be respected. Voilà.
Yeah, interesting. Francois, I'm going to come back to you in a second, but can I just ask you just to inch your chair forward, because I don't want you to disappear off the back of the stage, and that could be slightly unfortunate. Oh, okay. If you're happy, good. That makes me feel a lot more relieved. I want to talk about digital. I mean, we've touched on it a little bit already, but we live in a digital age, an omni-channel age, if you like. But I want to talk about that in relation to the luxury business and how luxury is responding to digital. And I particularly want to ask you, is digital a threat, an opportunity, or both?
I cannot look at digital being a threat, and digital is a part of everybody's life today and will never go away, period. But I look at it as a tool to be better, as a tool to be efficient, as a tool to be proactive, not as an end, especially in the world of luxury. Meaning that no matter what you could use as digital tools to play with, at some point you want to develop a human connection. You don't want to be, is Brunello Cucinelli who was saying it the best. He said, we don't want to be stalkers, we want to be butlers. And in the world of digitalization, communication is key. Now, how much love are you going to show me if I spend already, for a shoe company, 25,000 euros, which is a serious amount of money, and the first email I get from that company is Mrs. Françoise Benamias or Mrs. Françoise Piguet, because for whatever reason, the system didn't do the right thing. I say, I wish, I'm not. Anyway, and all those type of things.
Yeah.
So everybody talks about, I say, CRM, client experience, all those type of things. But it's always comes down to the interpretation of what you're going to do with. So digital, a tool, never the end of the game.
Yeah, but I mean, in the 20 plus years that you were in charge of AP, you had to have gone through the digital transformation because it was entirely in that era. I mean, how did you adapt the company to that?
It's like learning a new language. You learn a new language. And when you learn a language, sometimes you make mistakes because you don't speak about it the right way. So you learn by making those mistakes, and eventually you evolve. I have to say, in the last 10 to 15 years, the brands that were the most advanced digitally did not end up being the best ones and the best in terms of selling. Okay? And I'm not going to go into names.
No.
But we were looking at some point at brands in the world of fashion that were so far in advance to the rest of the competition. Okay, so you want to talk about?
Don't get us sued.
So Burberry, yes,
we don't want to get sued.
Okay, but anyway, and at some point, it didn't bring them to another level. So there is a limit of that tool and what you can do with.
Almost a first mover disadvantage?
No. It depends. It's not one size fits all, and it's not, if you do this way, it's going to work.
Yep.
You have to go with the flow, and you have to understand that, especially in the world of digitalization, you're going to make more mistakes than you're going to succeed.
Yeah.
You're going to waste a lot of things in the world of, we need to do this, and you run against these new technologies and ventures. At the end, I always go back to this matters more and will always matter more, here as well, no worries, okay, than just something on the computer.
Yeah, excellent. And Christophe, without getting us into any legal trouble, what's your take on this?
Digital is a means, it's not an end. When you start playing digital as it's the end game, then that's the end of the game. So, I mean, back to François, I think digital, it's a language. So you may try to learn it. Probably the best thing to do is to hire a good translator. So whether we like it or not, there are people much younger who are digital native and they have a better understanding of how digital will be used by new generations.
Yeah.
So the minute you try to replicate the client experience, brick and mortar, into digital, that's when things might be going off rail if you want to make it commercially a success. So the other thing is digital, and quite frankly, I've got mixed feelings. So back then, you always see digital as a way to recruit new clients. But equally, you need to make sure digital doesn't become unfair competitor to brick and mortars. And one thing, quite frankly, I still don't have the answer today is how do you treat digital exclusives or pre-launches, for example? The minute you do pre-launch, you want to get your client excited and you want them to go and to visit the stores. You want to get your sales associate going through their client book, make appointments, etc. So making it accessible from online, is it, and I'm asking the question, is it the right thing to do, or is it something you should be saving actually to create excitement and to have a first chance to connect with clients physically? And that's something we try, and there's no obvious answer on which formula is the right one. Well, for me, I haven't found the answer yet.
No. Alexis, obviously from that hospitality perspective, hospitality is the ultimate people business. But there's a digital element now to the business. From a more sort of hospitality perspective, tell us how it's sort of worked its way into your business.
Well, I can talk. I mean, for Four Seasons, I'm the owner's rep, but I will talk for. If you look at the Four Seasons website, and if you look at how many bookings, basically. Driven room nights within the hotel. I mean, it's what we call the direct channel bookings. What they call this is what they call it. It can goes up to 25 to 35%. Why? Because they have a huge database of aficionados, the Four Seasons. They have people basically that start with Four Seasons, with 20 years old. They make their career. And they manage to have enough money to pursue that adventure. And they start at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, Four Seasons. C'est incroyable. The database of Four Seasons is in fact close to 60-70% of their total turnover of repeat. That's totally amazing. And of course, they're injecting a lot of money in the Four Seasons websites. More in an humble way, or more modestly, on Edmond Rothschild Heritage side, we have a website, of course, that you can have a look at. It's very nice. But we can have access to wine buying. So this is something that is easy to organize. To be honest, I am a little bit disappointed because I have an issue with the database. How to collect better database. The database is the secret that allows you to select the right people and that will buy. So this is something I'm really working on because I know it's essential. Then there is one aspect that we haven't mentioned that is important is also the social media. We are using a lot the social media to pass messages. So mainly on Instagram, you have the different wine properties. On LinkedIn, the same. You have either an interview from one of the manager, or you have, the announcement of a new acquisition. For instance, like the one we did in New Zealand in March last year. I mean, this is how we use also the web to enhance our visibility.
Okay, thank you. And ladies and gents, just to let you know, in a few minutes, I'll be opening the floor to questions for the audience. So be thinking up your questions over the next couple of minutes. But just before we do that, I just want to touch on another way that brands spread the love to new potential customers, and that's through collaborations. And I was particularly struck, François-Henri, and I know that you are no longer with AP, but I was particularly struck by collaborations like the AP Spider-Man watch, which seemed to cause a degree of stir in the watch market. A very interesting collaboration. So I want to get your take from that perspective on the importance of these interesting collaborations to more to expand the love, perhaps rather than to build it.
There is not, when we talk about collaborations, first of all, when you go into this, and especially with brands or human beings, you never actually know where it's going to take you. It's not a guarantee. There is no safety net per se. So when you make a move in a direction, it's got to be either be good or bad or average. So you have to take your leap of faith and jump and see what's happening. I told the story many times. I don't want to go back on this, but why Spider-Man? It was why Marvel, because it wasn't Spider-Man per se. It was Marvel.
That's true.
The venture. What we've discovered at that time is the world of watchmaking, which was when I started 29 years ago, a world where you have to basically be 50 plus. Okay? In the last 5 to 7 years, unannounced, unplanned by anyone, I would challenge any marketing person, any commercial director in any watch company to say, we got to see a rise of youth coming to the world of watchmaking. Because for many, many years, and especially since the Apple Watch came out, everyone in the world thought that the watchmaking industry would die. You know what? They got to take over. No one's going to wear a watch. No young people will ever wear watches again. And if they wear a watch, it's got to be an Apple Watch. Guess what? As I said, coming from nowhere, we saw a rise of kids coming to the appreciation of watchmaking. And they were actually the one preaching the choir to their parents to bring them into the brands. Not even the parents anymore. The kids were doing the job, which was pretty impossible to even think about. So when you talk about now a younger generation, what do they love? What do they like? Music, fashion, sports, entertainment. What could we do in that field? What makes sense? What is legit? Because you have to play with something which is legit. The world of watchmaking has always been linked to comic art, if you want to say. In the 30s, you were seeing Mickey Mouse, characters on watches. In the 30s. So it's not something that we created from nowhere. In the 90s, Gio Argenta brought back these Mickey Mouse characters on watches as well. Who are the Mickey Mouse characters of the 21st century? Marvel. So we launched Marvel. And even though some people say, this is a good one, at the end, it was a major success.
Was there resistance internally to it?
No, the resistance could have been on the Marvel collaboration when we launched at the beginning, but not on the second one, because when we are in it, you go for it. You cannot say, okay, we got to do Black Panther and then not do anything anymore. You could have challenged me on Travis Scott, that we launched at the end of the year. Hip-hop, rap, that's another collaboration that could have said, why do people do that? That's a part of what we've built over the course of the last 20 years. Will that last and keep going the way it is? No clue. But you always have to go with the flow and go with your crowd.
And did it attract a younger purchaser? Can you track those things? And were those watches bought by?
Sure.
Yeah. So 20-something tech millionaires were diving in.
That helped. Actually, I don't know the word in English. Desacralizing, almost bringing much more to a normal world. This world of very high-end watchmaking, which could be perceived as ostentatious. It's not for everyone. You are outside of the door, don't come to my house. No, it's much more, look at this field. It's insane of people, talented, who are willing to work every day. And you've got the older generation, their sons and daughters, you're right about this, that come and want to be watchmakers as well.
Don't point at me when you say the older generation.
No, I'm talking, come on, sunshine. That's what I'm talking about, in a sense of opening the eyes always and going with the flow of what the world is about.
Yeah. And Christophe, I know you've got an interesting take on this, and if you can just maybe briefly expand on that before we open the floor, I'd be interested just to get your take on that.
I've seen different type of collaborations in my previous companies or current ones. Collaboration usually you use to increase brand awareness, to recruit new clients, or the one you wish you had, but you need to be careful. It's the ones you will be able to keep within. So again, back to a long-lasting or a relationship. If you do a collaboration, they come to you, they buy into you because it's a specific item, and then they're out of the brand as soon as they're in. It's a commercial success, but it's not a long-term, and it might be also disturbing your existing client base. So that's where there is a fragile balance between exploring new grounds and sticking to what you know best. When you do collaboration, you need really to do it because it's going to bring value and you come with a specific design.
Yeah.
If you're actually, and it needs to be balanced between both brands collaborating. If it's 90%, so basically if people are buying it, I'm going to call it a cat. If you do a Supreme collaboration, for example, which is like an easy trick, anybody would buy anything with Supreme on it, but they would be in and out of the brand the minute after. So quite frankly, this one, I mean, to make easy money, perfect. To keep those clients in your database, that's a long shot. So that's why you need to choose wisely, and it needs to help both parties.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, my wonderful audience, it's your turn now to ask questions to the panel. So who has a question for these gents? Just put your hand up, and our assistant there with the microphone will come and pop a microphone under your nose. Yes, you can go first. Thank you.
No,
Payback.
I think.
no.
Oh, is it not? Hang on, just one sec. We good?
Online people, it's not going to be able to.
We good or? Yeah, let's pop that one over there. Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
So first, thank you, gentlemen, for the amazing speech. Just one thing, Rick. I don't know if we mentioned it or if we covered the topic, but I mean, of course, luxury is about exclusivity. Exclusivity means that not everyone, client-wise, will be satisfied. Meaning that they will not all of them have the piece they were seeking or the room they were seeking, because luxury is about restreindre, the offer, right? How would you guys manage, because that's a challenge that we face. I'm a trainer in the luxury business, so that's something that I quite, cover a lot. How would you guys manage the frustration from the client perspective? The client comes, Audemars Piguet is a good example, because Audemars Piguet, you know that you work in a flux tendu with the Royal Oak. Client come, they don't have the piece. Sometimes they know about it and they say, okay, well, I will wait. Or they get frustrated and mad. So how do you guys manage this frustration from the client perspective?
Okay, who'd like to go first? Alexis, do you want to grab the mic?
Well, it's
Thanks.
interesting question, mainly for the Four Seasons measure. When you have an hotel that is only 55 keys, and you have a winter season that is 3.5 months, of course, the rarity is naturally created because the demand is higher than the offer. Well, this is not something new. It happens with, he will talk about it shortly. What happened is I don't really manage it, but I manage it in the way that I increase the prices. So this is not, I mean, is it acceptable, humanly speaking, to increase the prices and to reach, I will share something that I should not share, but my average room rate for the last 3 months were over 3,000 euro. So I'm making a better average rate, okay, than the Ritz in Paris or George V or the Bristol. But only 3.5 months, 4 months. But how we manage it? Well, as I said, through the price. Who has the money comes deeply inside of me. I'm not totally comfortable for that, but I have to be happy because, of course, the transformation of the turnover in results is there, and I have to reimburse, of course, the Crédit Agricole who borrow me 80 million or 75 million. So it's super in terms of business. But is it acceptable morally? Sometimes I'm asking that questions. But of course, when you run a company, you need to make results. C'est comme ça. Because
François-Henri. Feel free to jump in, François-Henri.
Can I be provocative for a second? Oui. He asked you a question about the client and how do you manage the frustration of the client. And your answer is, I increase prices.
Yeah?
That's managing the frustration of the client?
you mentioned, you talked about the rarity also,
Yeah.
Manage exclusivity.
No, okay,
It's
but
one
let's-
way.
my take on this. The second, you have something which we cannot make many of. Hotels room, certain collection in watches, bags, a restaurant with only 30 tables. You know by default that you're gonna generate frustrations, okay? And the best thing you could do is be smart about the way to play it. In other words, if you're always full, or you had full capacity of deliveries on your items, through your connection with people that enter your place, whether it's a retail store, it's a hotel, it's a restaurant, at some point, with your own instincts, you're gonna say, I cannot accommodate you now, but I really want you with my brand. So I need to get to understand more about who you are, what you stand for, not in an inquisitive way, much more into a friendly way. Let's talk, because I cannot do it now, but I really would love to be able to bring you in at some point. Is it going to be always perfect? No, but you're not playing the game. People will at the end understand that you're not playing. One example with AP, and that's the only one because I don't work for AP anymore. As you can see, I don't even wear it, so I don't want to go too far. When I was asking the question about the Jumbo, which is the most sought-after watch, to people in a room, clients, I say, how many of those watches you think we make a year? And they were saying 5,000, 10,000. I say, what? But if I was making 5,000 of those, you would never want them anymore. You will never enter a restaurant where there is nobody in it. You will never enter a retail store where there is absolutely nobody in it. Unless you're me and you want to be quiet and you have everybody for you, okay? But you don't. You go where the things are. So you also have to understand from the client perspective the game. It's a behavior of the brand towards the client that's going to make the change.
Cool. Christophe? You're...
I cannot disclose this information.
Christophe, over to you.
One way to manage, client frustration or expectation is also to reward loyalty. So basically, when we have writing instruments, limited edition, we have what we call LE1, LE3, LE5, LE8, and we try to please, and those pieces are oversubscribed. And we try to please, number one, the client who's been with us for a longer period of time, and the one that will have a better fit with the product itself. So we need to make arbitration. Then comes, what François is saying, you can create also and manage future expectations, create waiting lists, discuss, find the future needs to put them at the top of the list for a next purchase. But the minute there is something in limited quantities, you need to make a choice. The question is, how do you explain? And that's why you need to be relatively transparent. Because when it comes to collectors, they all meet each other. So one day or another, the truth, they will find out the truth. So they may end up in the same room, same dinner, blah, blah. And the guy will see at his wrist the piece he was trying to buy or the writing instruments he was trying to purchase. And so it's better to be honest and to explain. But that's, again, when you reach such a level of intimacy with your clients, high hands, there is a circle. They know each other. They know very well the sales associate or ambassador who is dealing with them. So they know we're doing the best we can. And if we can't, we can't. Sometimes they're upset, and then you find a way to apologize. But that's part of the game.
Yeah. And I'm right in thinking LE1, there's literally one of them in the world. That's right.
You're completely correct.
Excellent. It's time for one more audience question. Who would like to have the last say from the audience on the questions? Oh, that hand was up first. You can take the last question.
Come on, give them 2 more.
We'll see how quick your answers are.
Ça marche?
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. So I was really inspired by your talk about retail people here, and because before I was working in a consulting firm focused on retail training, so I kind of know nowadays the brands intend to put a bit more responsibility to the retail people. Now they need to do like welcoming clients, active listening, even styling, and then later CRM maintain the clients. Do you think the increasing responsibility on the frontline people's shoulders is kind of one of the reasons why the talent mobility is stayed up high nowadays? If so, like how the management people should show more love to the retail people to maintain them and to train them well.
Okay, so each give me a 1 minute take on that. That'd be perfect.
So rapidly, when you look at the latest reports from most of the luxury brands today, they are all talking about hiring more and more and more and more and more people. But the pound is not that big. So basically, we are living in a world where luxury brands steal employees from each other on a regular basis. And it's very difficult to keep people working for the same company for a long time, because sometimes just 5,000 more a year will make a difference. Okay? So we go back to what we spoke about on day one. Who's gonna love you more? And money is important, do not get me wrong. Money is extremely important, and you have to be competitive in terms of what you can offer an employee. But eventually, what's gonna matter the most also is when suddenly something bad happens to you in a company, for whatever reason. It could be a personal issue, it could be a health issue, where someone at a higher level needs to understand your specific need at that specific time, and if that person behaves the right way towards you, you want to work for that company, okay? Because it's going to pay long term. 1 minute.
Okay, voila. Christophe?
Employer reputation is super important. So, but it takes time to build love. So we see some people joining. They move to another company at some point, and they feel they will get more money or a better benefit, and then they realize actually either the work culture or the work atmosphere can be up to toxic. So very lucrative, but up to toxic. And then they decide to come back. I've been lucky. I've worked my last 2 companies. We are really using the word family. But that was not just words. It's really people we're hiring and the way we behave. If you have a tough time, personal, I've had employees going through, illness during COVID, people losing their parents, grandparents, being stuck, not being able to travel, etc. And we're always trying to accommodate, helping them, and completely, at some point, disregarding the performance and making sure they were feeling safe. And that's what you need to create as a work environment. But it takes time. And some people, they decide to jump boats before realizing what they might be losing. So it's part of the game. Money is probably always coming first, but there are a lot of extras beside money that you need to value, but it takes more time to quantify and to put a value on it.
Thank you, Christophe. And final word, Alexis.
Yes, you mentioned something important. You said putting some responsibility on the shoulder of... I will be very brief. This is, for me, a very good thing, because what happened is you realize sometimes in that exercise, when done, because not everybody is doing this, some people reveal themselves with the responsibility. And this is how you identify, in fact, the people who has the potential. Voilà.
Okay. Gents, as I mentioned, our time is up. We've had our hour and 50 minutes. I know I could have probably spoken with you guys for another hour and 50 minutes, but unfortunately we cannot do that. So thank you very much for your excellent insights, which I'm sure has given everyone rich food for thought. Now to our audience, we are now taking a 1 hour break for lunch. Then we'll be back at 2 p.m. With our next panel. For that, I'll be joined by Véronique Beaumont, Fabienne Lupo, and Marianne Wachtmeister. And we'll be exploring the past, present and future of luxury, which promises to be another excellent conversation. But for now, though, please show your love to our 3 panelists.